with the roll call. I'll start with the roll call. Ms. Humphries, will you call the roll?
President Osborne,
Here.
Vice President Holcomb,
Here.
Member Gresham,
Here.
Member Kazi,
Here.
Member Spear. We have a quorum.
Thank you. And just to note, Ms. Spear is absent because she is recovering from elbow surgery, and I've heard she's doing well. And go on to the next agenda item. Ms. Kazi, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'd be honored.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Have a
Second.
second. Please vote. The agenda has been approved. Now on to item 2.1, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Baca, will you provide us with a report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the Governing Board and Executive Team. This past week, the Auditor General released their report regarding school district spending. I'm proud to report that Madison increased our classroom spending by 1.3%, which is proportionate to the decrease in administrative spending by that same amount. The other thing that we're very proud to report is that we are now, in terms of average teacher salary, higher than the state average by $2,347. So I want to commend the board and this administration for their work to make sure that we can honestly say that we have a higher salary, average salary than the state average. And so I'm very proud of that, and thanking Ms. Garvey and her team for the wonderful work that they have done. And finally, just a reminder that we have spring break next week, so I hope everyone has a very safe, enjoyable, and restful spring break. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Baca. We'll go on to board member reports. Mr. Holcomb, will you start with your report?
Yeah, thank you. I've had the opportunity this last week to participate in the ongoing strategic plan revisions and discussion. That continues to be a very rewarding and is by far the most comprehensive, both from a plan stand and from the input that's coming in. And I'm very excited about getting to the point, now we're getting to the implementation stage for the strategic plan, working through that. I'm very excited about that. I also had an opportunity to go to the Madison and see the #1 play, the Cast A I saw, and it was so fun to have the kids back up on stage and having them run the tech at the Madison and seeing, they were just having so much fun, as was the audience. It was great to be back there for that. And last but not least, I had an opportunity to, with other members of the board, to attend the PTO lunch, where all the PTOs got together and we had lunch. We talked about district, and what is always so great about that is seeing how the PTOs interact with each other. They support each other, they share ideas, and it's just really great to see how that's developed and keeps developing over the years, how the schools have become, part of a district and really support each other. So it's been a great time so far. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you. How about Ms. Grisham? Anything to report?
Thank you. We've had a busy week. I think Mr. Holcomb and I had the same schedule. So I just want to thank everyone that participates on the strategic planning committee, the staff, the parents. It's been a really good experience, and I appreciate everyone participating in that. And I went to the #1 performance on Sunday, so I saw the B cast, so we'll have to compare notes. But the kids' acting was excellent. But also, like you said, they do the directing, the makeup, the stage, the tech. So they've worked really hard on it. So they did a great job, and Miss Lang also does an amazing job with that. I have a little plug for tomorrow. We have an all Madison track meet. It's going to be at Washington High School, 4-ish. Yeah, so if anyone's interested in that, come on down. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Great. Ms. Kazi, anything to report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is National Social Work Week, where we recognize the tremendous work that our social workers do. And I just wanted to remind everyone that back at the Great Recession, when we cut our social worker positions, they agreed to take basically a 50% cut. They were supposed to only work part-time, and they worked full-time. So they're basically working for free half of the time. And then ultimately, those positions had to be cut because of significant funding loss due to the recession. The work that they've done during the last 2 years, we will never fully appreciate. I mean, I can't even imagine. Just having 3 kids at home for a while, like, I knew what those impacts were. So I want to really recognize they've been in the trenches and they've worked hard, and it has been grueling. So I think it's a time to just give them some appreciation for the incredible work that they do, and the fact that we have them again, and how appreciative we are to have those positions at our schools. Thanks.
Thank you. And I apologize for being a little late. I think it was for good reason, being that our Madison is packed with parents with another performance. It's pretty exciting to see all the activity going on. I'd also like to thank Dr. Guerin, who I know has been meeting with all the board members and various principals and teams at the Madison as she's transitioning on, and she's doing this with her time off and vacation time, and I think that's a real testament to her commitment to the district, and I just want to thank her for doing those items, and that's all I had to report. So now on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to, oh, I'm sorry, call to the public. Did not see any calls to the public. Okay. Now on to item 5.1, approval of the consent items. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. All right, the motion passes. Now on to item 6.1, wellness update. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team. I'll turn it over to our deputy superintendent, who will be introducing the chairs of our wellness committee.
Thank you, Dr. Baca. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Baca, and executive team. Tonight we have Edie Dolan, Director of Special Services, and Lauren Kemmer, our Executive Chef Wellness Coordinator, here to give a presentation on the wellness goals of the Wellness Committee, or I should say the goals of the Wellness Committee. And I'd like to welcome them up.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lori. President Osborne, members of the governing board, Dr. Baca, and members of the executive team. I am delighted to be delighted to be here with you tonight to give you an update regarding the Madison District Wellness Committee goals for this school year. So we've conducted our meetings virtually this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We conducted those through Zoom. We had about 13 to 19 participants per meeting. We also had representation from all five out of our 8 schools with district office representation as well. And all meetings were recorded through Zoom, and then recaps were sent to all attendees the next day. And now for our first 2 points on this next slide, talking about social and emotional wellness, we will have Edie Dolan, the Director of Student Wellness, to cover those points.
Good evening, members of the governing board, Mr. President, executive team. Thank you very much for having us here. So for our first goal for students and families was our Thrive sessions. I'm really pleased to report these have been a success. So Thrive again stands for Together, Healthy, Resilient, Informed, Values, Aligned, and Empowered. We've had 2 sessions so far. Our first session has over 200 views on YouTube, which is really, really exciting. Our second session on social media and gaming has about 100 views. And our next session is this Thursday, actually. It's at 6:30, and it's going to be around the transition from elementary to middle school. So we're really, really excited that we're able to engage members of the community around topics that are critical to success with parenting. In terms of our next goal, looking at the ID badges. So we ran into some COVID delays, of course, and we had some difficulty getting the actual ID badges, but I'm really pleased to report that they're now here in Madison. And Kyle DiMatteo, the Director of Maintenance and Transportation, is currently setting a rollout roadmap, so looking into how other districts have rolled out the utilization of the ID badges, and we should be coming up with implementation soon for next school year.
All right, and now for the final point on social emotional wellness. For the staff side of things, we are looking into pursuing the Healthiest Employer Workplace Program, or the HOP Award, for platinum status this year. I will say in the past, Madison's achieved both the gold and silver, and the platinum's the highest status you can do for this award. And a big thanks to Linda Mock and Crystal Ahern for paving the way for achieving this goal. I believe the submission for this is due in May, so they're busy right now working on that. And as far as the platinum level award goes, it's more centered towards the data-driven performance behind that, and really looking at wellness in all aspects of the workplace. So that's their goal on that piece. And then for the physical wellness side, we had quite a few goals concerning this. The first impacts both of our students as well as our staff and community. We rolled out the mobile Farm Express produce bus, and those stops have been ongoing every other week at Madison Camelview. And this is a bus that sells fresh produce, and it's open to the community. It's posted on their website. And we've had big success. Actually, Madison Camelview has the highest number of attendees out of all of the stops through Mobile Express. So they really want us back next year. And Hillary O'Brien at Camelview is thrilled to want to continue that program. And so that's that piece. And then for students, we have a lot of goals concerning that. The first is providing those opportunities for students to still continue obtaining free meals throughout the school year. Again, the pandemic was really hard on supply chain issues, staffing, and our Madison Food Services team really embraced that challenge, and we've been doing amazing, incredible things. And despite also too the waivers that are that USDA put together for nutrition, so maybe not having whole grains or not having fat-free milk, despite those waivers, we've still been able to offer whole grain rich as well as fat-free milk. So despite those challenges, Madison has come ahead of the game, and we've still continued giving our students the best quality and nutritious meals that we can do. Also, too, on that note, we've also provided many different programs for students in our district and community to continue to obtain free meals. This included our weekly bulk bag food pickups. This also included snacks for tutoring programs, cafeteria meal pickups for community children, as well as our Madison Virtual Academy students. And all of these were achieved despite the ongoing staffing challenges that our department faced. The second point also had to do with student physical wellness. So the Smarter Lunchroom Assessment, which we've been doing for the past, since I've been here, so the past 4.5 years. So this impacts students' healthful eating. So it It provides our school cafeterias ideas for how to decrease food waste, as well as promoting students to make healthier choices in the cafeteria line. And this goal is for all of our cafeterias to have a higher score than last year. And Andrea Zankman, with our SNAP-Ed community dietitian collaboration with Maricopa County Department of Public Health, has been assisting in the completion of this goal. The next goal also has to do with our collaboration with Andrea Zankman. The Triennial Wellness Assessment is a required piece for our own food service department administrative reviews that occur. So this is another point that we are going to work on to complete it. And that looks at every facet of wellness efforts concerning our students, and it also involves any updates or changes that need to be made to increase more wellness within the wellness programs within the district. The last point too, on to student physical wellness, is providing opportunities for healthy snacks and nutrient-dense meals. So this year was also a first for publishing our monthly cafeteria newsletters, the Cafe Chronicles. Those are emailed electronically to all parents, and that was a first. So that was kind of building that connection with parents and just updating them on all of the different menu changes that we've had to make, as well as different other healthy tips that they can do at home, recipes, other ways they can grocery shop, all kinds of stuff like that. And along with that, the Food and Nutrition Department has also been active guest starring on the Madison Parenting Future Focus Kids podcasts. Myself and Kristen Soulsby have been guest speakers on 2 of the episodes, so check those out if you haven't already. No, I'm good. I'm almost there. We've also done many other things this year despite COVID. We've still done marketing for our farm to school efforts for National School Breakfast Week. It's going on this week right now, and we are celebrating it at our cafeterias. And we also have relaunched the Culinary Club at Madison Park as well. So those are all amazing things that we've been doing. We've also been collaborating with Arizona State University, Maricopa County, and Paradise Valley Community College. Their students and their dietetic interns have also helped fill those staffing gaps, as well as provide other nutrition pieces for our department. And for those visual people, we have plenty of pictures on here that have described the goals that I've set out in the last few slides. I don't want to run through them in too much detail, but the top left one is our Farm Express mobile produce bus. And you literally can take a shopping basket inside, pick out whatever you want, and then you can either pay through cash, credit, SNAP, or PEBT. So it's a great program that we are going to continue for next year. And the last piece I had before I leave you tonight is looking ahead for future school years. Some ideas that we've talked about within the Wellness Committee are implementing student yoga classes and or more cooking classes on more campuses. We've also, Edie Dolan and I have spoken already a little bit on this, about the potential for doing a needs assessment to determine the drug alcohol prevention program that was mentioned last school year, and looking forward to implementing that for potentially the future. And thank you so much for your time. And what questions do you have for me?
And Mr. President, before you go to the questions, I just want to take this time to personally thank Ms. Dolan for her participation in this presentation, and for Ms. Kemmer, who unfortunately at the end of the week, unfortunately for us, will be leaving for a new job with Dairy Council, but congratulations to her on that, and wishing you a lot of luck and success.
Oh, those milk guys, always stealing the best. one request, very impressed by the report. When you do your platinum submittal, it'd be really interesting to have the board to have maybe in a Friday report some of the benchmarks. I think I'd be very interested to see. I think we're trying to be more quantitative in some of the stuff, so very impressive. Any discussion about mental health issues and some of those? I know you focused a lot on the physical health side, but if you could touch on things you're doing on the mental health side as well. And it looks like your colleague is.
I was just going to
Helping
say,
back up.
that's a perfect question for her.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. So we're really, really excited. We've continued our ruler implementation. So ruler's a framework out of Yale about really building emotional intelligence of all staff and students. This was year one where we focused on staff. Year two is really exciting. We're going to focus on students, so really focusing on building that capacity. We've also introduced a social emotional screener. So in terms of identifying areas for support in terms of mental health, we're going to be implementing that as a tool to determine next steps and strengthen our instruction both on the tier 1 level, so for all students, but then also really identifying focus groups for students that might need additional layers of support.
Great. Other questions from board members? Ms. Cosby?
Thank you for the report, and I'm really sad to hear that news. As much as that's very exciting for you, you will be terribly missed. Thank you. You are a rock star. My goodness. Oh. I just have a quick question. So I recently mentioned to Dr. Baca that Common Sense Media has located within our school district, and they have a wide variety of free resources available to districts and have not interacted with Madison. So I've shared the contact information with Dr. Baca, and obviously he's going to decide, where the appropriate place to place that. But I mean, there is some good information that can help parents as well as students with issues dealing with the impacts of the digital world we live in, because we know, sadly, there's some positives, but there are also a whole lot of negatives. The other question that I have is, have we been able to take any of the information that we perhaps learned, and maybe this is more of a question for Ms. Marshall, but we had an ASU grant-funded project at number 1 that looked at rec therapy, and I don't know if we were able, if there's any connections that can be made to our health and wellness committee from some of the things we learned through that program. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kazi, members of the board and executive team. I appreciate that reminder. We started that rec therapy prior to the pandemic. I know we've had not only administrative turnover, but also with student services, but I'll be sure to follow up to see where we are with the status or outcomes that we received from that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Gresham, and then Mr. Holcomb.
I'm not sure I have any questions, but I just want to thank both of you for continuing this through the pandemic. And as a former member of the Wellness Committee, this is a very important one to me. And I want to encourage all our parents and everyone at the sites to please join the Wellness Committee. There's no limit on how many we can have, so it'd be great to have every site have a representative. And I know parents always have, opinions on whether it's school lunch or recess or all this, mental and emotional health. So this is the place to do it and get involved. So, I really enjoyed being on. I'm sad that I can't do it now as a board member, and we will definitely miss you, Lauren. So good luck with everything. So thank you, ladies.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yes, thank you. Wonderful presentation. Very excited. Actually, food always excites me, but that's why I have the Garfield tie on. And I'm hoping we're getting this out. It seems like you're doing a great job of getting this out in the community and the news and that, and as broadly as we can, because things like the farm truck coming in, that's a great thing that we should really be advertising much as possible. So I really appreciate all that work you've done there. I was very interested to hear that you had the culinary club at Park restarting. I was wondering, has there been any reach out or with Camelback High School, which has a culinary program? That's one of the major things that they do. It seemed like it'd be a real good partnership there.
I will look into that. No, we have not contacted them, but I will say that Andrea Zankman also is a part of that, as well as the cafeteria manager at Park. They have their own curriculum that they've derived So every week, they're cooking a different item and really showcasing different skills. One week might be knife skills. They did fajitas one day, slicing up the bell peppers, so utilizing those knife skills. But I will pass that info along.
Can I just add a quick addition? So I don't know if you've connected to the Blue Watermelon Project as well, because the executive director is a former Madison parent.
Right, yes.
Okay,
Blue
good.
Watermelon, yes. I
Okay,
have those
awesome.
contacts as well.
Excellent.
Well, and if they're doing those cooking and making those things, I think it'd be awesome if you invited the board over there to sample that as well. But-
Yeah, maybe the club could meet at like 4:30 to 5:30 and then come over and deliver and we're shameless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Excellent report.
Thank you.
All right, now on to item 7.1, strategic plan revision. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team. If you recall, back in January of 2020, we had the first approval of our strategic plan goals, commitments, and vision and mission as well, and you worked very hard in participating in that. We paused our work momentarily, but picked it up with our design team. And you have two representatives from the governing board on that design team, Ms. Gresham and Mr. Holcomb. And as the work was being done to operationalize the plan, it became evident that there were some areas that we were wanting to revise as a result of trying to operationalize that plan. So the first one is in goal area 1, and it is in our commitment 1.2. As the design team and then the subcommittees were meeting in their groups, there was the decision that to more clearly identify exactly what can be operationalized, it's beyond early career, but it's readiness in all areas, especially academic. And so there was the desire to just talk about developer readiness skills as opposed to a specific early career. That's going to be incorporated, obviously, along with the academic piece into our operational plan that we will execute. And then in goal area 2, with inclusivity and wellness for commitment 2.2, there was the desire to not just focus in on trauma-informed practices, but to take a more proactive, healthy approach by talking about healing-centered engagement. And so part of the work that will be done is being able to not just implement those trauma-informed practices, but also engage in a healing-centered manner, knowing that students are more, and adults are more than just the trauma that they may have. They have other attributes that are very healing and that can contribute. So there was the desire to be able to modify that commitment to include healing-centered engagement. And then finally, under community strength, remember and keep in mind that when you operationalize, you get into the specifics. If you can go include the entire goal, please, if you're able to, and I don't know if you're not. But I just want to point out that in the goal first, you're going to see that we have as a strategic goal about valuing positive relationships among students, staff, and families, as well as educational businesses and community partners. And when you go down to 3.4, to be good neighbors and forge positive community relationships is a little bit redundant. And the desire is to have in the previous commitments that focus in what they're doing. So in order to execute and operationalize our strategic plan and for it to be meaningful, the committee felt as though that that is already incorporated into our goal, and it's going to be incorporated into the practices with the previous 4 commitments as well. And so because you approved these commitments, we bring it to you to revise and modify those commitments. And I don't know if Mr. Holcomb or Ms. Gresham has anything to add. And then, of course, we have members of our executive team that has worked directly with groups as we are operationalizing our strategic plan that can also answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Holcomb, Ms. Gresham, anything you want to add?
Not really. I'll just say that I support these changes, and I just feel like usually fewer words is easier to understand and creates less confusion. So I'm usually supportive of those. Any questions, let us know.
Mr. Holcomb, anything else to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that when the committee brought this forward, one of the things we did this last Thursday is really walk through these and how these changes could actually improve what we're being able to do. There was a lively discussion, and I was actually raised some questions about the changes, but I really respect the work that has been done by the whole group, and it's a really a group effort. And I also respect the fact that, I know this from my own work, you come up with ideas of these are the things I want to do, and as you go through and really get into the meat of them, you say, I need to modify this a bit because it's not really fitting. And while I have some different ideas about words because I think the words are very important, I think this is all very positive, in particular respecting the work of the whole group, and I think it shows the amount of effort that's really been put into this and trying to be as precise and make this as functional a document as possible. So I think this shows the process is very good.
Other discussion? No, I think these look great, and I'd be happy to make a motion. I think it's a testament to the initial process that there are so few changes as we're going into implementation. So may I have a motion?
I move that we approve the revisions to the strategic plan as presented.
All right, Ms. Kazi with the motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Holcomb with the second. Please vote. Alrighty, now on to item 7.2, district-supported health insurance plan. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce this item? Oh, the motion passes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. President, members of the Governing Board and Executive Team, I'll turn it over to our Deputy Superintendent. We are presenting in 3 separate items, everything that deals with benefits for our employees, and we have mostly good news, and very proud of what we're able to present to you, and hopefully you take action on these items. Ms. Garvey?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bach, and executive team. This year, we went out for an RFP, so request for proposal, for all of our medical benefits for our employees. We have done that, the last time that we went out was 5 years ago. So it was that time again to get out in the market and see if what we are offering to our staff is we are getting the best plan that we can possibly get for the least amount of money with good coverage. So when we evaluate the proposals, we look at all of that to make sure that the companies have good networks. We look at, we cross over to make sure that the provider list has a certain amount of match on it, because we also want to cause as little disruption to our employees as we can, because we know when it comes to any of your medical, dental, vision products, it's very personal, and so it touches everybody at their core. So we went out to that. We asked for a best and final. We got best and finals on all of the products, including health insurance, and then we had a insurance committee represented. There was a representative from the schools, each school on the committee, and they brought forward the recommendations and supported the ones that came forward today. The first one here was the district-supported health insurance plan. We are recommending that we stay with our current provider, ASBAID. The rate increase was 2.5%, which was lower than any of the other vendors that submitted. It kept our premiums, it kept our plan the same, and actually has some enhancements to the high deductible plan, which we hope will be attractive to our employees. We are also implementing a five-tier plan that has been asked for many years by the employees, so that we did add a category this year that is employee plus one child instead of just employee plus children. And we are anxious to see how that will be received and if we have a lot of people so we can gather data on that. But so this first one here is for the district-supported health insurance plan, recommending that it be presented to, or awarded to ASB.
All right, any questions, comments? If not, I will take a motion.
So moved.
Ms. Gresham with the motion,
Second.
and Ms. Kazi with the second. Please vote. And let the record reflect, I will be taking a conflict. I've represented a number of companies in the health insurance field, and so I'm going to recuse myself,
You'll be abstaining?
abstaining. All right, the motion passes with 3 ayes and 1 abstention. Item number 7.3, the dental insurance. Ms. Garvey, do you want to present that?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bach and executive team. The second RFP that went out was for the dental and vision plan. The district has 2 dental plans. One is a PPO and one is an HMO. And it is being recommended that Delta Dental be awarded the PPO plan, which would be a change from our current carrier. They did propose a 3.5% reduction to the current premium, so that gets passed along to our staff. And EDS, our HMO plan, proposed an 8.8% reduction to our premiums. And both of these do have rate locks for at least 4 years coming up. So it's pretty incredible. And then we have the vision, which is also Superior Vision. Our current carrier did propose a 5% reduction as well. So it's very nice to be able to pass these savings along to our employees. And we are asking that these be awarded to Delta Dental and EDS and Superior Vision.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Move to accept the dental and vision insurance as presented.
Motion by Mr. Holcomb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Gresham. Please vote. And I will also be abstaining on this one as well, as I represent a number of dental insurers. All righty. By 3 ayes, 1 abstention, the motion passes. Now on to item 7.4, basic life and AD&D and supplemental life insurance.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bach and executive team. Our last RFP was for life and accidental death and dismemberment premiums and for short-term disability. We did receive an increase, and it does seem here substantial, 64% to our employer-paid basic life. It went from, so that everybody knows, 64% does sound, it is a lot. It did raise our premiums were $19,000 and they're going to $32,000. So in terms of total dollars, it was relatively small, but unfortunately we've had a few claims in the past couple of years which accounts for that increase. The voluntary and employer-paid short-term disability, we actually, on the employer paid, there's a 29% reduction in our premiums for short-term disability. And then the short-term disability, that a voluntary short-term disability, the carrier maintained the same rates. So there will be no increase for employees who select to buy additional short-term disability on their own. So again, we were very, very pleased with the outcome this year of the RFPs that we went out for.
Any questions or comments on this item?
I just want to thank Ms. Garvey and her staff for the thorough process and for doing all this work on this. So thank you.
Definitely agreed. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'm happy to move that we award RFP number 212204 for basic life, AD&D, supplemental life insurance, and employer-paid and voluntary short-term disability to Voya.
Second.
Ms. Kazi with the motion, Mr. Holcomb with the second. please vote. And like the other items, I represent a number of life and long-term disability companies, and I will, out of abundance of caution, take a conflict on this one. At least I got to vote on one item. And the motion passes. 3 ayes, 1 abstention. Now on to item 8.1, discussion regarding future meetings. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce our calendar?
I'd be happy to. Mr. President, members of the governing board and executive team, on March 29th, we will be meeting at 5 o'clock in executive session. We will be presenting to you the work that has been done regarding IBN. What we plan on doing is being able to finalize with you all the work of the IBN, so that on April 12th, we're able to have Ms. Garvey bring both the IBN and Budget Advisory Committee recommendations to you as an information item. And then the following meeting on April 26th is when then I would present my recommendations on the budget based on those discussions. So it's one right after the other. So that's on March 29th. In addition to that, Madison Highland Prep High School will be presenting their annual report to you as a board. Moving back to April 12th, and thank you to Ms. Humphrey for going back and forth wondering where I'm going with all of this. We will also, as I said, we plan on bringing the recommendations to you, but also Ms. Garvey plans on having an item in terms of construction services at Madison Meadows Gym remodel for a guaranteed maximum price.
Okay. Other items, other issues that folks want to put on the agenda? The only thing, and it may not be an agenda item, I know the governor came out with his school summer camp. At some point, maybe if you can kind of brief us on, is that something that we're interested in? I don't know if it needs to be agendized or just a conversation, but just something I'd be interested in to see if that matches up to something we want to participate or not. I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but just interested if there's $100 million out there, does it make sense or not?
Sure, we'll be happy to provide you with information.
Mr. Holcomb.
Yeah, Dr. Zamort, do you have idea when the legislature is going to finish its trek? It's always helpful to have a legislative update as soon as possible.
Would you like to provide that at the next meeting, a legislative update?
Yeah, I can give kind of a general, and if there's any topics you want specifically covered, just ping Dr. Baca and I'll roll them up, and I can tell you about all the insurance stuff that's going on, but I don't think you're interested in that. But no, I think the good news is I think some of the crazier education stuff, a lot of it seems to be falling away. There's still a lot of bad stuff out there, and hopefully we'll have a little better sense on the budget, because I'm a little nervous that may drag on till a lot later based on some things I'm hearing.
Is next one should be the appropriate meeting, or?
Let's see.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was?
No, go ahead.
For the 29th?
I'm just asking, when is it going to be most useful?
Why don't we look at the 29th? If I have a sense that delaying it to the 12th would be more productive, I'll let you guys know, and then we can adjust accordingly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Just remind me I'm doing this report so I don't have to wing it.
I'll be reminding you.
And hopefully, we also have the advocates who can come in and point and counterpoint.
The good news is I track all this stuff from my other clients. So I have a pretty
Right.
good idea of what's going on. So,
Perfect, thank you.
all righty. Anything else on calendar? If not, I would take a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Ms. Gresham with the motion,
Second.
and Ms. Kazi with the second. I assume Ms. Spear is watching intently as we vote, as she's chewing on whatever painkiller she is chewing on.
Painkillers work well for a board motion, board meeting, I mean.
So, all right, we are adjourned.
Thanks.